So today I'm trying to create a full colouring book for Amazon KDP in 24 hours. I'm creating this colouring book using a previous book I created, so I just wanted to look back at my most difficult parts, such as the details and the book cover. This is definitely the page I'm most scared for. Unfortunately, that book didn't do so well on KDP, so it still has 0 sales. Moving on to creating the actual book, I began creating line art over the original sketches. These first two honestly didn't take me long at all. They were very simple and very repetitive. However, that didn't last very long. The hardest thing about creating this line art was remembering there needed to be solid blocks for colouring. And because my audience is for children, I needed to make sure that I didn't add too much detail. 10 minutes in, I completed 2 pages. When I began the more detailed pages, it slowed me down a lot. The penguins in my book in particular were an absolute nightmare, and unfortunately they were on a lot of pages. Some of the pages that were previously coloured, I needed to add a lot more detail to, because without it, it was a very boring colouring book. Thankfully, the penguins meant I was quite far through the book, so I was quite happy with my progress. As I finally reached the last few pages of the book, I realised I still had a long way to go. In past experience, I know creating the cover can take a really long time. I completely forgot about this page, but it was so time consuming. I finally reached the last page, and I now think that I could have done a lot more work on the designs. Maybe next time I can try a book from scratch. Once I'd finished, I began selecting all of my pages. I needed to be careful not to include any of the illustrated versions. I could then prepare them for export. Unfortunately, when I was checking the pages for faults, I found a few stray lines and things I had to tidy up. After my final checks again, I exported the pages as PNG files. I've always used that for images as I believe that's what's best for the highest quality. Once I'd airdropped all the pages from my iPad to my laptop, I began putting them into Adobe InDesign. There's plenty of tools to create manuscripts for KDP, but this is what I find the best quality and the easiest. One thing I almost forgot is the cover for the book. I thought my previous cover was a bit too dark and gloomy for a kid's book, so I wanted to use brighter colours for this one. I never got this grass at the front to work. I tried everything, but I think it just draws your eyes too much. It finally started coming together when I added the title and the robin. Once it was time, I could finally begin the long-winded KDP upload process. I find writing the description, the title, and choosing the categories the hardest parts of this. Thankfully, Amazon do let you know if they think you're in the wrong category, or if they think you've forgotten something like choosing large print, as I had. I wanted to spend some detailed time looking into everything I've chosen and making sure I didn't make any spelling mistakes or miss any boxes. I sped this part up a lot, but it can take some serious time to upload your manuscript and your cover, and you always have to launch the full book previewer, which can take like 10 minutes. When the preview finally loaded, I made sure to triple check everything, because even if your margins are off by a few millimeters, your book won't end up live until you change it, and it can be very time consuming. I forgot to mention this, but I did create a page at the back of the book with my details on. Once I'd checked everything, I had to choose the print options, like black and white interior versus coloured. Now on to pricing. I honestly have zero clue what to put here, but I do try and look up similar books on Amazon for an idea, and just make sure that you make a profit. And now we wait. My book is in review and all I need to do is wait for an email from Amazon making sure that everything's okay. I do think this challenge was easier than I anticipated, and it definitely helped having a story I'd previously written. I think next time I'd like to create a full story in a full book, maybe within 14 hours. And many days later, my book was live. I ended up submitting this later into the night as I got distracted during the day quite a few times. I always love looking at the actual Amazon listing to make sure it's there, and it definitely is.